Covering the inside, Mayer does not want to give him the space. He's going to force him the long way around, and he's going to take it, but he's going to go way wide. Is he going to hold the speed up? He's in the grass trying to hold on. Simon Mayer has got the speed, and he is going to take that lead back just as they cross for the win. Is this enough to try and finally get this done into the Descida del Lago? He outbrakes him. He has the inside, but he can't feed it out because there's a car there, and Costa does it again, denying him, but fighting back. Here comes Tolinen, going to be on the outside, coming into the horseshoe. It's hard to try and make it stick the long way around to this one, but he's going to do it anyways. Another right-hander leading into this one. It's just the never-ending side-by-side battle, but he gets a shove from behind. Showed and Holly are now vying for the lead down the backstretch. Look at him all the way to the yellow line. Michaud covering him off. Holly backs it up. He is setting him up. Absolutely. I guarantee you right here. And look at how calm he is. Oh, no.
That's a slowdown.
It certainly is. And off to the bottom of the track. He doesn't have to play any games. Michaud is done for. And he looks in the mirror almost unbelieving of his luck. Here comes Beaufil. Beaufil going to look to the inside, coming into Brundle. Are we going to go 3 wide potentially? Is Ziti going to try and lift? He is, and they go 3 wide into the corner. But Luke comes out in front, and a little bit of acceleration at the wrong time for Beaufil. Puts him under threat. Down the inside goes Stetzel, through the bomb hole, and out the other side. Stetzel carries the momentum. Another right-hander now into Corum, and he's back through.
Right on board here with James Holland in that Ninja Trader eSports AM machine. He may have a 2-for-1 going 3 wide down Kemmel.
How about going to the grass to make it 3 wide, in fact? No one's backing off yet. Doycombe on lap 3. No one's backing off. Horvath now backs it off. Luna nearly squeezes Holland off the track.
You're just going to stay together as we get a move to the inside. Levesque trying to defend on Ferguson, and Ferguson fights back out of the corner, almost banging doors as they come around the last turn. Here comes Mies as well, trying to take back some of the positions that he lost as they stay tight to the inside. Overall, the dirt and dust on the track and down into the first corner. We're going to be wheel to wheel, yet still Levesque around the outside. Ferguson, can he get the job done? Yet now he has.
And it's not over yet for the battle for 7th. Harper holding on to the bottom. Soranzo trying to jump past Walker. They crash coming to the final corner. Soranzo and Walker crash down the front stretch. The last cars on the lead lap trying back up down the straightaway. Walker will finish in 8th backwards to close the year.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry, and our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
It's becoming a bit of a trend in the Cup Series. Rondeletto and Acosta have been embroiled in a season-long battle that is so tight, even many of their stats are tied. But they must keep an eye over their shoulders. Holly might still be winless, but his unflappable consistency leaves him easily in the hunt for the crown. Let's see if Homestead changes any of that as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Homestead has for many years the championship decider for NASCAR, but just like real life, it won't be this way in the PRL either. But let's take a close look to find out more about it.
The track boom of the 1990s and recovery after the devastating Hurricane Andrew brought this gem of a southern Florida track. It started out a bit rough. In 1995, the initial layout was like a smaller Indianapolis. It really didn't work. Slow, narrow, passing was near impossible, so they widened the track. That brought out a larger problem of crashing. They tore up the corners and made it into a traditional oval. Racing improved greatly, and in 2002, NASCAR moved all of their top-tier series finales to South Florida, and they would stay there for 17 years. Each end of the racetrack produces multi-group racing and passing opportunities. The approach to turns 1 and 2 has produced numerous race-changing moments over the years, as it just invites you to make a move. You hit that 18 to 20 degree progressively banked corner, and it becomes a matter of who can get it back on the gas faster as you hit the backstretch and the row of palm trees that awaits you. Turns 3 and 4 are just as multi-grooved, although a few small bumps in the low lane make the high line just a little more appealing. Even then, guys will use that low lane for a challenge that could last all the way to the checkered flag. Nowadays, Homestead's biggest customers on the oval are NASCAR vehicles. The trucks, B-Class, and Cup cars all make trips here and put on fantastic shows. USAC Silver Crowns raced here as well, and that often shows up on iRacing's official calendar for that car. Welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway, where the racing action is just as hot as those South Miami beaches.
Well, they saw a little bit about this place, but taking these Gen 6 Cup cars here for the last time before we switch over to the next gen, DJ, what can we expect?
Well, Joe, we can expect a lot of good side-by-side racing all throughout this track. It is one of those tracks that just provides some exciting moments no matter what kind of car you bring to it. Now, in terms of lines to run in these Cup cars, I anticipate the middle and high line to be a little bit favored early on. It takes a little bit for the low line to really grip in enough, to rubber in there, because if you try to run it too early, what'll happen is you'll just kind of drift up on the exit of the corner. If you're trying to come under somebody, that can really come back to bite you. So watch for that middle or high line early, and I reckon about probably 75 laps or so into the race, we may be able to start seeing some 3-wide with drivers getting aggressive down on the low line.
We'll keep an eye on that, but in the meantime, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free now at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So we are now into round 9, and it is coming down to the wire here in the championship. And Octavio Rondoletto leads by a mere 5 points over Abner Acosta, both with 2 wins, both with 6 top 5s, both with 6 top 10s. But you see Bradley Hawley down there, only 13 points back, and then James O'Brien. We can't discount him as well. O'Brien has a win, but Hawley does not. However, for Bradley Hawley, he has not finished outside of the top 10 this entire season. Matthew Long rounds out the top 5 in the points, and he is another one who has snagged a win so far. What about the team's championship?
Well, Joe, in that team's championship, it's a little bit more spread out, with private label Team Hype having a 50-point advantage over SGE eSports Apex. Waterback Racing Black, though, only 2 points behind them, so a good little battle shaping up between them. James Bird Racing a little bit on into themselves, with Waterback Racing Orange rounding out your top 5, 117 points off the leaders.
As for the playoffs, that has come down to here to decide who will the final 4 be at Chicagoland. And so far, Matthew Long is the only sure one. We've got Abner Acosta, Bradley Hawley, James O'Brien, and Trent Dinkle, James O'Brien above the cut, but Trent Dinkle, Cowgill, Besaw Jr., and Sumner are the ones that have to perform well today to try and get themselves into this. We also have race details for today's event. DJ, what are they up against?
Well, Joe, as you said, it is the 9th of 10 rounds here, so the penultimate round, and it's a 145-lap race or an hour and a half, whichever comes first. Now, there are 5 total tire sets for the entire race session these drivers can use. Homestead, not exactly known as a super abrasive track, but we will see what happens with that as we go along. It is open setup out here tonight, so that's where that teams stuff is really going to come into play. Drivers and teams working together to create their ideal setup. There's also no spare car, so if you wreck it, you are done, and there is a 24 incident limit in effect, and that will get you disqualified.
Right now, the drivers are just finishing up practice here, so getting the last little tweaks done, and that's something that'll change next season as well. They've recently announced with the next-gen cars coming into play, they're going to start off Season 1 with it becoming a fixed series just until everybody kind of gets comfortable with how those new cars handle. Looks like Josh Conker recently taking that fastest lap away in the warm-up session. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. Now, in terms of the playoff, it is 6 points for a win, 3 points for a top 5, 1 point for a top 10. And, of course, a win locks you in. So we could see 2 different drivers if somebody other than Matthew Long be locked in. But again, it kind of is a moot point since from here it just goes straight to Chicagoland. But keeping yourself in the hunt, if you're Trent Dinkle, Patrick Cowgill, Besaw Jr., Sumner, you want to get up to the front and maybe snatch that and bump one of the other three off the board to be able to take the year-long championship. But for now, as they continue on here in the evening sun down in Miami, it is actually a little bit warm, but not too bad here on track conditions, and also a little bit of wind, it appears, DJ.
Yeah, about 87 degrees on track, so it's right in that sort of Goldilocks zone, which will be very, very nice for these drivers. 53% humidity, so about average, but that wind coming out of the southeast, that can play a little bit of an effect on these drivers. That'll be a crosswind across the track, so we could see some drivers getting a little bit squirrely coming out of 2 and 4 as a result.
So it's going to be a little bit different from what we've seen at recent circuits as well, with that progressive banking. You were talking about the middle and high line being viable, but still able to, at times, being able to run the low line. How do you think that is going to affect the racing here? Do you imagine that qualifying doesn't mean as much, or do you still want to try and get that position?
No, I think you still want to try to get your way up towards the front as much as possible for a couple of reasons, Joe. Number one, you don't want to be involved in a train here. You don't want to get stuck behind everybody. It's not necessarily like restrictor plate racing like we're at Dega or we are at Daytona, but you can get caught up behind a slower car if they're running 2x2 or 3x3 ahead of you, and you don't want to run into that. The other part of it is you really and truly do not want to be in the back of the field when a couple of guys come together and you see that wreck developing in front of you. The closer you are to the front of the field, the less likely you are to be collateral damage.
And we saw the 31 on his qualifying lap. Watch out for those blue banners and spoilers. That's how you tell if a driver is in the playoffs here. Watching Trent Dinkle currently, and he's coming into 3. Patrick Cowgill is going to be the first to set a time, the marker at a 32.4 for everybody else to match.
Indeed, and there's Cowgill trying that middle line. Let's see what he can do. Dinkle, rather, trying that middle line as we've got some more times coming across the board. Dinkle able to go faster to the tune of about 0.3 of a second. Chris Hudson slots his way into second.
Some drivers taking their sweet time to get out there, considering it takes about half a minute to circulate. Can't wait too long. Looks like James O'Brien has now got himself up on the provisional pole ahead of Dinkle by almost 1/10 of a second. Chris Hudson and Ryan Goodell on the outside of those. And slowing down, Trent Dinkle's not going to take his second lap. He didn't seem to like that.
No, something just not right there for the 501. Did not approve of it, but here comes the 43 to cross over the line. Now let's see. He's going to pull it down and park it as well. So a lot of drivers here doing that. Here's the man of the hour, Octavio Rondoletto. Ben's on such a tear lately. You see him weaving there, trying to warm up those tires in this hot Miami sun.
Yeah, it sounds like Trent got a little bit loose in turn 4, and that's why he backed off of it. Besaw Jr. up to 4th, although he's now in 5th because Andrew Payne finds himself up there. I can tell you that Acosta has just started his first flyer, but we're watching Octavio Rondoletto right now. He has not set a time yet until right now. Nope, that was an outlap, excuse me. So the 48 also following Acosta round. Bradley Holly is on his first flyer as well. So this could really change things up at the front. And again, the drivers that we really want to keep an eye on in terms of the year-long championship, Dinkle, Cowgill, Besaw Jr., and Sumner. I think Besaw is the best position amongst them currently, and Acosta goes up to the front row on his first lap.
And Joe Octavio pulling it down. He did not like the way that lap was. I'm not sure what's going on there with Rondoletto, but yeah, opting not to go for it. But Acosta here on that second lap. Now he's trying that low groove. That can work during qualifying because you don't have anybody to your outside you've got to worry about running up into. So let's see if he's able to go a little bit faster here than that 32 flat. He is not.
Bradley Holly's coming down the line for his second lap. He was good enough for sixth the first time. Second time was about half a second slower. Must be that first lap that the drivers really need to aim for. What about Josh Conker in the 54 as he, gets it right up to the wall, and he gets loose as well off the turn. Must have had a 0X in there because that lap got deleted.
That's a bit of a shame there for Josh Conker. He was looking very, very good during practice. He'll have one more shot at the apple here, able to go through 1 and 2 with no problem. I can also report that Rondeletto got himself back on track, and he's trying again.
All right, with just about 30 seconds left, so down to the dying stages of today's race, or qualifying rather, the 54 crosses for his second lap, a 32 flat. That'll get him into third, putting Dinkel down into fifth as Rondeletto comes back around. He had enough time to restart and get it going, and he goes into fourth. So that means Dinkel is our highest driver of those trying to get into the cutoff for the playoffs. But our qualifying has finished. Let's go through the starting order. It'll be James O'Brien on the pole with Abner Acosta next to him as Josh Conker starts from third and Octavio Rondeletto in fourth. So there's two of our main championship contenders for this season within the first two rows. Trent Dinkel starts fifth and Andrew Payne in P6. It'll be Taylor Stout in seventh with Bradley Holly to his outside. Daniel Simmons starts ninth, and Matthew Long, despite not having any practice laps, puts himself within the top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it'll be Robert Besaw Jr., followed by Chris Hunston in 12th. Ryan Goodell will be 13th, and Danny Cervantes to his outside. Patrick Calgill and Robert Tracy will make up row 8, with Charles Sumner and Jamie Knopp behind them. Pat Harvey will be 19th, and Brandon Walter will line up in 20th.
Skip Gandy's 21st today with Adam Zemke in 22nd. Then it's Mike Witt, P23. Scotty Johnson starts 24th. He'll have Barron Hilton on the inside of the following row. Jose Medina in 26th, and CM Pennington was the last driver to set a time in 27th spot. Kalen, Romero, Hutchison, Holland, and Guerra will start at the tail of our 32-car field here today. Pretty decent-sized field out there, which is not good news for those trying to get in on the playoffs. And just so we understand the situation, I was looking at the math here, and considering it is 6 points for win, and the gap between O'Brien and Dinkel is 49 points, that tells you that the only way in is to win. It is all or nothing for those guys at that stage, but they've got to weigh the risks on that because other drivers are also running their own races and their own championships. Abner Acosta and Octavio Rondeletto vying for the Season 1 championship. Don't particularly want to get caught up in anything and don't want to be taken out as they now head off on our pace laps. So many different variables as to who is motivated by what tonight, DJ, and that could make things very spicy.
It could indeed, Joe, and I think especially for some of those drivers in that cutoff 4, you are going to see them be hyper aggressive. They know they've got to win or else here today, and so that's going to really, really change the calculus for these guys. But I think for guys like O'Brien, Rondeletto, that are fighting for this last season championship, they're going to be going for it.
Alrighty, as we get lined up and head into turn 3, James O'Brien, who is 4th in the championship. He could still get back into it, but he's got to make a fair bit of inroads here to get a better shot at trying to beat Rondeletto, Acosta, and Hawley, as it's going to be tough to try and beat them in the final round based on everybody's consistency so far. Pace car is in. O'Brien has to wait for the green flag, which waves now, and he is on it. Starts to accelerate away, but it's not the biggest of jumps over Acosta as they all pretty much stay in line here down into turns 1 and 2. Finally, a few cars drifting out and splaying out through these banked corners. Looks like it's a good run on the bottom from Conker.
It does indeed, able to get a little bit of good traction down on that low side early on. He was able to slide it on up. He's going to try it again here. Going down low is that 54, but a little bit of a checkup for him. And then Acosta going very, very wide. That allows for Conker to come back and take the lead.
That was O'Brien, unfortunately, drifting way up to the outside. He falls into second. Acosta's actually gone back into fourth. Might fall to fifth because Rondoletto has already caught back up. In fact, they're 3 wide there. As up on the high side, the 33 decides to back out of it. A little bit of contact between our 2 championship rivals. Acosta smacks the wall. He is slow, but is he also damaged?
I'm not sure, but that car for the 48 of Octavio Rondoletto was flying around like a fish out of water. That tail just going this way and that. It's amazing he was able to hold on to the car like that. Everybody looking like they're able to keep going, though.
Let's watch from this outside, see what the right side of the car looks like. It seems okay from here, so maybe he got away with a glancing blow. That had to have been scary on lap 2, seeing this race almost go away from him. Now he's got some ground to make up. Bradley Hawley going to fall back from Rondoletto down into 6th position. They're still very 2x2 in that group, but they've also dropped way off of 3rd place. Trent Dinkel, it's about 1.3 seconds from Andrew Payne to the podium.
Yeah, indeed it is, and as they continue to squabble around here like this, I think that gap is only going to get bigger and bigger. Looks like Andrew Payne running the high line there, and a Rondoletto trying to go low on him. Octavio maybe thinking about a move here into 3 and 4. No, he's not going to go for it here, but he's just trying to maximize that speed in that distinctive 48.
Everybody else behind them are all pretty spread out once you get to the bottom of this field, but that pack remaining quite tight down into turn 1, looking to the inside. I believe that is Matthew Long. No, that is, yeah, that is Matthew Long in the 28, excuse me. And he's got Bradley Hawley up to the high side, getting this shot off the corner behind him. It is the 66 of Taylor Stout. Now they're going to start to get single file a little bit.
They do get single file, Joe, but you can see how they just fan out through the corners. It's one of the things I really love about Homestead Miami is that there is a line for sort of every driving style around here. Diving back down now into 1 and 2. There you can see that's the 184 of Holly going high. You can see the 93 there of Payne doing the same thing. Everybody else sticking a little bit of low on the low side.
Already on lap 6, and we're getting word that the 62 has had an issue. That's Mark Kalin. He's still rolling, though. Must have had a little bit of contact with the wall. Let's see if the right-hand side shows some damage. Not seeing much on him. Wonder what in the world has happened to him. Looks like just a tiny little bit on the right-hand side. Didn't lose too much as he's still at least 25th. Oh, and Bradley Hawley's dropping back once again. Car does not seem good early in the run. He just got overtaken by Matthew Long. Stout is challenging him. They're 3 wide coming out of turn 4. Cowgill, who's been having a rough start to this race, is trying to make spots back up. He shoots along the outside by the safer barrier and chucks it into turn 1.
Yeah, and you can see Bradley starting to regain some of his speed and composure here, Joe. It looked like he was a little checked up as he tried to make a move on Rondoletto. Couldn't get it done. That had to check up the car and blunted his momentum just a little bit. But I love what Octavio's doing here, just running that super high line, trying to compromise Bradley as much as possible.
Boom, little bobble from Taylor Stout on the bottom. Car doesn't seem to like that low line right now. He's going to fall back a little bit as Goodell gets in front of him. Acosta running low as Hawley runs high. Down there in the 25, that is Cervantes in the middle of the group. You talked about the cars washing up. Does scare me a little bit with how much they come together off the turns. I have a feeling that will cause some confusion at some point.
Yeah, probably will indeed. And for drivers who do want to go low and wash up a little bit, it becomes a very nice defensive move. But as you can see there between Long and Cowgill, it does leave you open to that sort of over-under assault that Long is trying to pull off. Patrick now just has to keep that momentum up on the high side. He's looking like he's got it, and I think he does for now.
So that's up to P6 for Cowgill, but he's still not in a better position than Trent Dinkel, who is riding along with Conker and O'Brien. Those three have been very calm at the point. And Dinkle could still sneak this one in, but there's a lot of racing left to go, and many developments could occur in this race. Everybody running a little bit more single file along each of the straights, but drivers heading to their preferred line as they enter the turns. And off the corner, having to stay low. Matthew Long finds his momentum interrupted with Bradley Hawley trying to come back through.
Yes, he is. Hawley doing a good little recovery drive here right now. And remember, he's actually one up from where he started, but he was as high as fourth here at one point. It's Cowgill maybe making a little look there on Rondoletto, seeing if there's anything doing. He's going to stick that car high, and he's going to pull Hawley along with him.
Octavio continuing to run all the way at the bottom with Andrew Payne running all the way at the top. In front of him, Payne has been running at the very front in that number 93. Well, not the very front of this group, really. And hasn't really relinquished it in some time. Drifting up off the turn, the 31 almost looked like he'd have a little bit better momentum than Octavio, but it was not to be.
Yeah, Joe, he's looking really, really threatening here. I'm getting the sense here from Cowgill that he's just biding his time a little bit, waiting for an opportunity to present itself. And maybe that's going to come in the form of the 93 of Andrew Payne right ahead of him. Andrew hasn't had the pace necessarily that Octavio or Cowgill have had as of recent. So I'm thinking Patrick may be hoping that he'll be able to use him as a little bit of a pick to get by Octavio.
Kind of wondering, these drivers that we're seeing hug that bottom line, is that gonna chew up their tires a little bit more than those running the top?
It more than likely will, Joe, just by centrifugal force alone. If you are that lower, it's progressively banked. So if you're down low, that means that it's not as easy to turn the cars. We've got a little bit of side-by-side here. That's Matthew Long trying to take a look on Bradley Hawley. Hawley a little bit boxed in by Cowgill. Cowgill gets squirrely up on the high side, though, and they're going to go 3 wide.
Long tries to stay at the bottom to keep from running into the side of Hawley. Behind them, another 3-wide situation developing, but it looks like Goodell's going to come out ahead of that with Stout and Simmons slotting in behind. Constant changing on our scoring tower. I see drivers up and down the field. And Long, oh, he wanted to get to the outside, but the 7 had already taken the spot.
And remember, we talked about some of these drivers are going to get a little bit more aggressive here to just secure their positions. And it looks like Ryan Goodell is one of them pushing his way forward, but now he's going to be under attack from Daniel Simmons.
We saw in the foreground as well, Rondoletto had started making moves on Payne, but he couldn't get the job done. Down at the very bottom, the 46 of Simmons has a charge. Can he get by the 31 as well? He just finds an opening if he'll get in line, which he does now. And that will put the 46 into 8th place. Up on the high side, there goes Matthew Long, seeing if the slingshot move coming the long way around will help him out.
It looks like it might. Long's going to dive that car down to the inside. Excuse me, Simmons going to dive the car down to the inside as well as Long trying to go around the outside there of Rondoletto. There's just so much good action on track, Joe. I'm having trouble keeping track of it. But there you can see that looks like it is deal done for Daniel Simmons as we've got some double swaps up front. Looks like Dinkle and O'Brien and Payne and Rondoletto swapping around.
Yeah, Dinkle into P2. Rondoletto has gotten by Payne at least by half a car length a couple times, but he's not been able to get fully ahead. And you can see that right here where he's going to have to get back in, pull the slipstream a little bit, and then try it again.
And that slipstream so important here around Homestead. It's one of those tracks that you've really, really got to take advantage of it. There you see Octavio trying not to wash up too much, trying not to scrub off too much speed there for the 48 machine. Gonna dive it back down low again. It just doesn't seem like it's working here for Octavio.
As much as he tries, he can't seem to find the speed mid-corner to really seal it up. Behind them, look at it going double file for a moment there. The 31 of Patrick Cowgill ahead of Long with Stout down below them. He's going to pull along Besaw Jr. So there's 3 of our drivers on the outside looking in within the top 10 now.
Indeed, we talked about that charge up through the field that almost looked like it was inevitable, and here it all comes. Everybody going for it here, the best that they can.
I think the only one we're not seeing is Sumner. Is Sumner even here today? Yes, he is. He's in 21st. So right now he's the one that's really looking the least likely to be able to get himself through. There you see his orange and green traditional Tropicana car running towards the back of the field.
And Charles, well, let's not count him out quite yet, Joe. He may just be taking a little bit of a Rick Mears approach to this race, just waiting for it to come to him. We jump here to Robert Besaw Jr. there, making a move on the 66 of Taylor Stout down to the inside, lets the car drift up and blocks off any approach there. That's a good move from Besaw. That's exactly the kind of thing he needs to be doing.
Yeah, that gets him in a 9th now. So he's well within the top 10. After just recently cracking it. And ahead of him, you saw a little bit of the 46 and the 184 swapping positions. Holly falls down to 7th. And I think the 93 is going to fall to 6th because it seems that Daniel Simmons has quite a bit underneath him. But he finds the same problem that Rondoletto's been having, which is the low line doesn't seem to keep speed off the turns.
No, it does not, and that's a little bit what I talked about that low line starting to rubber in a little bit more over the course of the race. Look for it to get faster and faster as more drivers run on it and more of that rubber builds into the track and gets a little bit grippier.
That car we saw on the inside down the front stretch, that was the 99 of Brandon Walter. Had a bit of a moment trying to catch it. Thankfully did not wreck the car, but it was looking loose off the turn. And he's behind all this. There he is on screen now, just ahead of the battling Tracy and Cervantes for the 14th position. Cervantes looks like he'll take that one. Kind of makes me wonder, since we've been green since the start of this race, if we're starting to see some drivers feel the setups go away from them a little bit.
Indeed, Joe, it is something that can happen. You really can set these cars up one of two ways, where you are good on a heavy tank of fuel and the car feels really nice, or the car will be a little bit sluggish on that heavy tank, but you'll really come alive when you start to burn off that fuel. And we're starting to get an idea of who that is as we check there. That's Jamie Knopf down on the inside making some moves.
Gets by the 14 of Tracy. Whoa, once again, sliding around. The 19 does not have a happy car. It is getting extremely loose. And look at it come into the corners. The rear already kind of getting out. It is very slidey. Has to catch it. Slow off the turn. Cervantes goes by. If I'm Brandon Walter, I'm thinking about an early stop.
Yeah, I am too. That car just does not look happy out here today. Just an absolute handful for Walter, and I would do anything I can do to try to get it back under me.
Unless, I mean, at this point, his biggest risk is a caution, but if anything, it's probably a bigger risk becoming the caution if he stays out the way that car looks. Just does not have the speed to keep up. Otherwise, it's pretty diabolical to hold on to as we jump a little bit farther forward to our top three. Conker, Dinkle, O'Brien have not spread apart since we began this thing, all within about 0.3 of a second, but we've only seen one swap for position since they've sprinted away, and that's Dinkle overtaking O'Brien.
Yeah, and I get a little bit of the sense here that Dinkle and O'Brien may just be playing the long game here. Whoa, that was an extended slide up ahead for Josh Conker. But the two of them may be playing a little bit of a long game, backing off a little bit down the straightaways, saving a little bit of fuel, saving the tires the best that they can. They know that they don't need to start pushing right away, Joe. They can hold this out.
And Conker is, unfortunately, another one that has nothing to lose here. He's not in the championship for this season. He's not in the championship for the overall year in the playoffs, whereas Dinkle really needs this win to get through. But Conker probably only cares about the win here, and leading that lap, it is going to be Trent Dinkle by about 1/100 of a second.
It is indeed that 501 Napa machine diving down to the low line here, seeing if he can get that off. Indeed he can, but Conquer carrying the momentum up on the high side. He's going to try for the over-under and go for it down into 3 and 4.
He's just about ahead. Can he finally finish the job is the question. He's got the desired high side. The car gets a little bit loose off the turn. Doesn't keep the speed up like we expected. O'Brien sticks with it. A little bit of a blink, unfortunately, in the process of it, which is going to scare the 501, no doubt. And he's blinking a lot now.
Yeah, he is, and you can see Trent backing off a little bit, just not wanting a part of that, not wanting to run the risk of getting taken out courtesy of Josh Conquer's internet issues. There, Conquer goes up to the high side.
Yeah, I think that was intentional. I think Conquer was alerted by one of his teammates or somebody that he's blinking, and he gave up the ghost, knowing that the right thing to do, the courteous thing to do in sim racing is just kind of get out of the battle. No use in accidentally wrecking somebody over a poor internet connection. Meanwhile, jumping back, this is the fight between Matthew Long and Andrew Payne. The 93 way up high. Doesn't manage to get the shot that he needs. Although he is pulling up to the back. Does he try and continue it down to the inside of the 28? No, he does not.
Yeah, not able to get it there. I'm a little surprised, Joe. We haven't seen some drivers really running the high line around here. Remember a couple of seasons ago, iRacing did implement increased side draft, and you can kind of get that wall of air around the outside. The Kyle Larson line, as it used to sort of be known. Here you can see the 93 flirting with it a little bit, but nobody seems to be wanting to do it here quite yet.
Yeah, Payne got very loose in 3 and 4. And that's why he dropped back from Taylor Stout and is now dealing with Goodell and Skip Gandy. Gandy, by the way, up from 21st position. He's currently in 12th, fighting for 11th with that 93 car. So this has been a quiet but effective race for Skip.
Yeah, it really has. He's got to be very, very happy with where he is, and with still over 100 laps to go in the book here, he has plenty of time to keep on going.
Remember earlier how we mentioned about Mark Kalin getting into the wall. We did get a few pictures behind the scenes of his damage. It's definitely hurting him because he's a full 1.5 seconds off of the nearest car at the very tail of the field.
Yeah, really, really a rough day there for Mark Kalin, just trying to hold it together. Remember, some of the rules in the Precision Racing League is you got to finish out those laps. As we jump back up here for a little side-by-side battle, this is Bradley Holly and Robert Besaw Jr. duking it out.
Besaw to the bottom side, but there's the crossover, and Bradley Holly carries the speed nicely. Not much that the 3 can do about that. Lets him through, cuts back underneath. As they fly off of turn 4, can Besaw maybe return the favor? No, doesn't have the speed like the very savvy Bradley Holly.
No, Holly, as we've said so many times, one of the KG veterans here. He's now going to run it up high, carry that momentum across. Besaw trying to work it on the low line, but watch as they come out of the corner. There goes Holly, just streaking off a little bit there with that extended speed. But well, credit where credit's due. That is Besaw Jr. not letting this go quite yet.
And that was Taylor Stout in the background, who was loose a couple times coming through 1 and 2. We need a replay on this one. He actually got to the apron at one stage trying to catch the car. That could have been a serious yellow for him.
Yeah, indeed it could. He is a very, very lucky boy here today to have been able to escape from that unscathed.
As we watch him come off of 2 once again, here's the replay. So this is coming off the corner. Car just suddenly, I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like just late in the run. Once again, it is not happy. Starts looking more like a dirt car. It really had to chase it around.
Yeah, and you could see there at about mid-corner, Joe, that car started to step out a little bit. The rear just not really wanting to grip. This will be great to ride on board with it here. You'll notice it. You'll see the car drift a little bit right there. There, it's starting to go sideways. That lazy spin we always talk about. He was able to catch it, but what really caught him out was catching the car and coming back over the apron like that and getting that change in banking that goes from the flat apron up into the banking. That's what got him.
A lot of drivers are starting to get over the radio saying that they're losing their grip and having trouble out there. We see the 66 still rolling. Taylor Stout around the outside of the 7 of Goodell. Also, Abner Acosta, he lost. Okay, this is a weird one, but one of the problems with SimRacing, he lost his connection for a brief while, disappeared, which concerned me that he was going to completely disappear. But when he came back, he unfortunately had not been scored as crossing the start-finish line. So he has gone a lap down, even though technically he's run the lap.
Oh, one of those things, Joe, that you just hate to see in sim racing. It's one of the quirks of the system, but it is what happens there. And so now Acosta looks like he's still having internet problems. I just saw him blinking again on my screen.
Yeah, he might be out of this one, which is a shame for it to affect our championship fight that way. It will be a drop week for him, but he's only going to get 23 points for essentially from his worst round so far. I haven't seen him in a bit, but his official disconnect text has not appeared on our screens. We'll report as soon as we see it. Well, in the meantime, the 00 and the 43 going side by side here off of turn 2 as well.
Yeah, Baron Hilton and Chris Hudson trying to see what they can do. I like that little move there down to the inside for the 43, trying to pinch off the corner as much as possible. Unfortunately for him, though, the 14, that's Robert Tracy, was having none of it.
All right. They're going to continue it on. Hudson following behind now as the 14 goes low by Baron Hilton. Ooh, and ahead of them, we jump forward. This is Hawley and Besaw Jr. yet again, but Matthew Long has now been catching them, making this a fight, a three-way fight for the 6th position. Look at how spread out the field is getting, where at one time was almost one whole pack other than the top 3. It's now getting to be little pockets.
Yeah, indeed it is, Joe. And I think, you know, for some of the drivers that are running out in their own air, guys like Trent Dinkel, they're going to be absolutely loving it because, as I said, they're able to run any line that they want to, bringing it down, bringing it back up, not having to worry about the car really drifting up into another piece of machinery. But here comes Bradley Holly again on Besaw Jr. Looks like Holly had to catch the car a little bit coming out of turn 4, not able to get the full run that he wanted.
Wow, so Abner Acosta has now gone 2 laps down just because of his internet connection. Oh, we got a driver pitting. Michael Witt is now on pit lane. Okay, then. So he is... Oh, no, is this a drive-through? Oh, he did? Okay.
Pit. He did pit, yeah.
Just had a very far down stall that I must have missed. Whoa, Bradley Holly with a monster save just now off of turn 4. This car was nearly fully sideways, and somehow he's still rolling. We absolutely need an onboard with this one. And he didn't even lose the spot to Matt Long. I cannot believe this.
Bradley Holly just showing us again just how well he has got these Cup cars in control. Here is the replay. So dives it down into the corner right here, and there you see it starting to drift away from him, catches it, goes again, and there it's all the way out, and he gets it back together. Bradley Holly with the save of the day.
Loose is fast, right? He must be very fast then, because Holly looked all out of sorts. He did lose touch to Besaw because of that little move, but it seems like as the run goes on, every driver, oh my goodness, is kind of falling victim to the same issue of the rears leaving them.
Well, it's a lot of what we've seen every time we've covered this series, Joe, is the rears just tend to go out a little bit more, and it's all about managing those tires and figuring out when you're going to come on in.
Caution is out. Trying to see who caused it. Chris Hudson. And looks like, oh, this starts potentially with the 14 of Robert Tracy and Sumner in the 98 out of turn 3 and 4.
All right, so here is that replay. Let's check this out. Drivers coming down. Sumner on the radio talking about it just now. Coming through 3 and 4. There's Sumner all the way low. Acosta in the middle. Oh,
Does Acosta get caught up? No. Oh, my goodness. Acosta barely avoids it. Now, here's the question. Are they going to wave him around to give him his laps back? Because, yes, he had the poor internet connection, but he was still racing during this period. Here's the view from one of our championship hopefuls. He may have gotten a tiny touch, but otherwise he did not get the worst of that.
no, he didn't. And Joe, from that angle a little bit, I almost wonder if the 14 had a little bit of a snap to it. You saw that it looked a little bit like he came down on the car there. So on Charles Sumner. So I'm not sure exactly where to put the blame.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, but pretty much everybody, to no one's surprise, has come in. Oh, and we got Trent Dinkle missing his pit stall after leading everybody into the pits. He might lose that here. And in fact, James O'Brien has the very final one, so he's got the easiest out to try and claim the lead here from the pit stop cycle, and he does. Looks like Conker will be behind him. Simmons will be in fourth, and Dinkle falls to P5.
Oh, that is so tough for the 501, who has just been putting on an incredible run tonight. His only hope here is going to be that we know he's got speed in that car, and we'll just have to see if it plays.
Bad news for fans of Abner Acosta. The officials will not wave him around. They are letting the sim deal with it. So he's literally got to make an extra lap over everyone. Now, with cautions, that will be possible. And in fact, I think he's going to get one of the 2 laps back here since he's staying out. But then he's going to be on extremely old tires that are definitely not desirable based on what we've been witnessing.
No, and I think Abner's going to just be praying for another caution to come out rather quickly so he can dive back down and get a fresh set of boots on that car. But, yeah, it's not an ideal strategy by any means, Joe, but it's the strategy that he has got to go with here to be successful.
He's just going to have to use everything he can to figure out a way to get laps that he lost through an actual literal timing glitch, unfortunately. But they're just going to let it play out. And the 48 laps into this race, we've still got a little less than 100 to go. So there's time to do it. But he needs luck on his side and needs some good strategic thinking and to be fast on his feet. But behind him, O'Brien will lead them back to the start once we get the green, with Conker fighting with him. Let's see. So Dinkle's still the highest of those, trying to use a win to get into the Final Four for the playoffs. Where is Besaw Jr. is the next one down in 7th. And then who else do we have? Where is Cowgill? Cowgill's down in 17th. Sumner got caught up in that incident. He had a long stop to take some repairs. He's down in 24th.
Yeah, so some definite misfortune there for our playoff drivers, but they will have to just put it out of their mind and get racing here. As there goes those lap cars circling back around track right now. And we are ready to get going here with Josh Conker leading us off. Sun
continues to go down. This is set in November here in the virtual world. And so it's going to be a pretty early sunset. You can see it's already down to about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And are we getting more blinking from, is that O'Brien or Conquer? Yeah, it's the 54 of Conquer, who seems to be having yet more troubles. Let's hope he doesn't have the same thing happen to him that happened to Acosta, where it blinks at the wrong time and doesn't score him across the timing line. Getting restarted on lap 50 now. And Trent Dinkle being slotted down to 4th. Wants to get back ahead. Daniel Simmons, who's looked quite quick halfway through the stint. Could he potentially challenge now that he is farther up the order? He started this race in 9th. Pace car is in, and the green flag is out. Big jump there from James O'Brien. And in fact, Trent Dinkle's going to take advantage of it as he is going to the high side around the 54. He's got a good bit of speed. He's going to hope that the momentum with that higher banking helps him get the shot.
He is indeed, and it looks like he is going to be able to clear Daniel Simmons relatively easily. Now tuck up in the draft of Josh Conquer. Let's see what line he takes here through 3 and 4. Comes back to a little bit more traditional lower line. That line's starting to rip in a little bit.
Another big blink from the 54 comes back, and behind them, they've got a little bit of a break between Rondoletto in the 5th position and Long back in 6th. Now remember, in that first stint, Rondoletto got caught up in the incident with Acosta, where the two made a little bit of a touch, and they both lost speed. Now that Rondoletto has contact with the front group, will that allow him to threaten more for the lead?
Well, we'll have to see. There's still a lot of race left to go here as they get along. But we continue to watch. Ooh, Rondoletto starting to move his way forward, getting to the inside of Daniel Simmons. No, he's going to think better of it and slot into line.
And Conquer's going to go to the point as O'Brien jumps behind him. Dinkle now sizing him up, seeing if he could get a little bit of the slipstream. O'Brien has a good shot. They come down the backstretch towards turn 3, but he thinks twice about it and stays in line.
And again, Joe, we're seeing a little bit of a breakaway from these 3 leading cars as they put some distance between themselves and Daniel Simmons right now, just slowly but surely eking away.
It sounds like Mark Kalin just been having a miserable day. He got a little bit of damage on the restart from a checkup. And, well, unfortunately, the temperatures are getting too high in the car, and he is down on pit lane. This might be either day done or extensive repairs just to get it into a condition that won't cause it to blow up. Back to the front once again. I question whether Rondoletto could stay with the top group. The answer right now is a no.
No, it's really not. He looks like he's fallen back off, but granted, he may be held up a little bit behind Daniel Simmons right now. So we'll have to see if he can clear Simmons and then get a little bit of clear air on the front of that Toyota and move his way forward.
In fact, it's 2 little packs of 3, 1st to 3rd, and then 4th to 6th. Oh, make that packs of 4, actually. It looks like Holly, Besaw Jr., Stout, and Goodell in there, but they're being caught by the group behind them now as they come off the corner. No, excuse me, it was 2 groups of 3. That is Long, Simmons, and Rondoletto in the second group there. Also, worth noting that Acosta, we have to remember, there is the lucky dog, but he has to pass Romero, who is the next one in front of him currently of the cars a lap down. If he can get ahead of him and we get another caution, that is an easy way back onto the lead lap.
It is indeed, and rest assured that Abner will be thinking about that as they go around. Ooh, a little bit of a side-by-side here between Charles Sumner and Andrew Payne back in the field.
As Sumner is having a rough day trying to get himself into the final 4, and unfortunately still stuck around 19th position. Andrew Payne underneath him, going to be able to demote him to 20th. For some reason, oh, and someone going down low to the bottom, that is Chris Hudson. Oh, he got, oh no, he blew an engine into turn 1.
Oh.
Now, how did that happen? Did he just tape it up a little too much or what? Because I don't remember him getting into any big trouble out there. He pulls it off to the side, manages to keep a caution from coming out. Here's the moment. Poof.
Bada bing. It just lets go there, Joe. Yeah, I'm not sure if he maybe did just tape it up a little bit too much. Maybe, although you're not really doing a whole lot of shifting around here at Homestead, he may have just shifted down, and that's what did it. But one way or the other, that's a quick way to end your day.
Well, yeah, see, he could get back out there after trying to replace the engine, but that takes a decent chunk of time here, so he's really not going to be able to do much regardless. I was about to say that Acosta, we understand, is dealing with some damage and is way off the pace, so he is not catching Romero. I don't know how this happened to him either. Oh, actually, I do know. We saw it. It was the caution. That little bit of contact we saw him get must have been enough that it's put him... Gosh, is this a full second off of the pace?
Wow, it just goes to show just how aerodynamically sensitive these cars can be. Sometimes you just get a little dink on the suspension and all of that. The other thing to keep in mind, Joe, is remember, Abner didn't take tires on that last run. That may also be what's holding him down.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's just a double whammy for him, unfortunately, as we continue to watch the pack farther up towards the front. Besaw Jr. now down to 8th position as Simmons goes by him. Looks like he's going to have a threat from up high. That's the 66 of Stout, who starts to drift backwards. Can't keep the pace up there. Brandon Walter looks a little better now that he's got fresh tires on that thing. No longer slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, indeed. Ooh, Besaw getting a little bit low there. You saw a little bit of a checkup from him, I think, as they come through the corner. Everybody trying to be relatively calm here. That's a look to the inside there for the 7. Oh, we've got a battle for the lead, though, Joe.
Dinkel's at it again. He likes this car late in the run, and he is going to manage to overtake James O'Brien for that spot. Dinkel knows what he's got to do here today, and he's trying to act on it, but coming back at him. O'Brien with the speed down the backstretch. Dinkel's got the shorter line. Can he keep the speed up coming off the corner? He won't be able to slide up. The 9 is still there in his way. He's got some help maybe. A bump draft potentially from the 54.
Just a little bit of a love pat there in the back to get him up and going. And is that going to help the 54 propel himself up into second place? It certainly looks that way.
So now the 501 is solidly into the lead. He brings Conquer with him. O'Brien slots into third. They've got 1.2 seconds back to Matthew Long. It does seem that these three have just that much more over the rest of the field. Both times they've been able to stretch a gap and run away.
Yeah, they really, really have. It's very impressive speed out of the three of them. Conquer running a little bit wide there. It looked like for a second that O'Brien was going to try to have a look. Looking still to the inside as they come off of turn 2. Not going to do it here, but I think James O'Brien definitely looking for an opportunity to get back higher up on the podium.
Let's jump a little bit back. The 66 of Stout and Goodell are fighting for 9th position. I think Goodell might have this. Yeah, he's going to get in front of him, but the crossover from the 66 puts him back alongside. The blue and white machine going to get the low line down into 1 and 2. Can he finish this up? Is he going to try and get in front of the 7? No, he's going to keep it low now. He gets in front of him.
Finally able to get that move done. The 66 is going to be very, very happy with that, but it's not done. There comes the 7 back down to the inside. Ryan Goodell saying, not just yet, young man. I'm going to not give this away. Wow, both of them looking very squirrely off of 4.
Quite loose, and that's appropriate because these are some dirt track moves going on here, just crossing over back and forth in front of one another. Where does this stop? Cervantes says, keep going, guys. I'll take your spot as I take a faster line as he encroaches behind them in the 25.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty pleased with that as he's able to come up from behind right now. But they're still side by side. That's now going to be the 66 down to the inside. That's Taylor Stout, Ryan Goodell trying to carry that momentum. Both cars looking a little bit more planted as they come out before this time. But it is still Stout just holding on to that inside line well enough. I think he was actually scored as leading this little battle when they crossed the line.
It just carries on and on down the backstretch. Better bit of speed from the 7. Once again puts his nose ahead. Taylor Stout sticks with it. We're getting to the point where we should see the lights flickering on now. Oh, and drifting up a little bit. That might be it. Stout had to try and catch it. Did not want to turn the number 7. And Cervantes is going to take advantage as well.
Yes, he is. Danny's going to try to carry that momentum around the outside, much in the same way that his fellow driver there, Ryan Goodell, could make work. Don't know if it's going to happen here, but now he's going to get the benefit of the draft coming down the back straightaway as the 66 of Taylor Stout falling back.
Yep, that'll be into 11th place. And Acosta is in pit lane. He could not go any longer. I think this is for fuel, as he was a good 65 laps into the run.
Yeah, I think that was a move of necessity there, as you said, for Abner Acosta. This is going to massively throw him not only off strategy, but just completely out of the race at this point, as he'll go another couple of laps down here.
Seems to be the luck of that number 5. At the end of every season, I feel like we've always seen a race like this where something out of his control puts him laps down and skewers his hopes of trying to take the championship. Well, back up at the front, Trent Dinkle still leading the way ahead of Conker and O'Brien. Rondoletto has managed to get to the front of the second pack. He's in 4th, but still about 1.3 seconds behind. They keep swapping positions amongst themselves. Right now it's between Long, Hawley, Simmons, and Besaw Jr. that they've been trading back and forth.
Yeah, and I was watching Bradley Hawley there on that last lap, Joe, just running that car out very, very wide on the outside, and that's what allowed for Matthew Long to come and get that position away from him. You can see there again through 1 and 2, he just likes that high line, really, really trying to make it work almost up against the wall, but it doesn't look like he's got it here. He's losing positions.
We've been focusing so much on the playoffs there that the season championship has been really interesting as well. Because O'Brien, currently the best position up in 3rd, but he's only 1 spot ahead of Rondoletto, who leads the championship. So it certainly shouldn't get him the points lead after this one. But then Bradley Hawley is also back in 6th place. So things remain incredibly tight between our front runners. But I think it is still Rondoletto who looks to be taking the points lead once they head off into the season finale.
I think that's right, but we still have over half of this race yet to run, Joe. And as we've seen from this PRL NASCAR Cup Series, just about anything can happen. So for Octavio, he knows that he'll be good if he stays where he is, but he's going to keep wanting to push. I guarantee you the racer's instinct behind the wheel of that 48 is going to want to see him further up the field.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain he's going to try and fight Dinkle for it if he can just get up to him, but it doesn't seem like he's got the legs, at least from what we've witnessed so far. This is the white and blue 28 who finds himself under threat from the 184, who sends it down to the inside into turn 3. Bradley Hawley going to get up into P5 now and way up against the outside wall. Matthew Long running the very high, wide, and handsome line. He's going to give a bit of a bump draft to Hawley.
Yeah, he's very lucky he didn't get caught up in that outside wall, but Long looking a little bit like he wants to go down to the inside to attack, but not able to do it there. A little bit of a wiggle coming off the corner as the banking flattens out.
Screaming down the back stretch once again. They get back into a straight line. Besaw Jr. been sitting patiently back there. He's going to be just shy of trying to get himself through unless he can get up there and try and challenge Dinkle a little bit later. A little bit of a look from Daniel Simmons, but not a serious attempt down into 1 and 2. fanning out amongst them. A little bit to the higher side, mid-corner for Bradley Holly, but really washing up Matthew Long. Finds himself lacking grip. Simmons sees it and manages to get some overlap.
Does indeed. Tries to dive that car down low to get it. Again, Long on that high line. He just looks like he is losing time by the handful, running up as high as he is through 3 and 4, as that is Daniel Simmons up and on through.
In the meantime, I don't know what has gotten into Skip Gandy. In fact, I'm trying to recall how many races he's run this season because I don't remember seeing him a whole lot. He's gone up from 21st to 9th and just continues to climb here today. He's at the front of this group, and he does have some ways to go to get up to Robert Bissaw Jr. It's about 2.5 seconds, but I wouldn't put it past him. Another yellow, and that's yet more positions that he could chip away at.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he's leading out this pack right here with Cervantes behind him and kind of pulling Cervantes along as a little bit of a tow. But other than that, he seems to be the class of this sort of tertiary pack. So everybody fanning out there behind, as you can see. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to close in a little bit more on Bissaw, maybe make this a farther run for the number 20.
Absolutely. The 67 going down low under Goodell there. That's Pat Harvey. Car's looking a little bit loose once again. By the way, the answer to how many races Skip Gandy has won, well, apparently I have a horrible memory. He's run all of them so far this season, but he hasn't had too many stellar results. In fact, he's only been in the top 10 once at the checkered flag.
So this looking like a good run there for him then as we watch here. This is the 67 of Pat Harvey trying to get to the inside there of Ryan Goodell. Goodell not fully shutting the door. Ooh, but getting a little bit squirrely coming off of 4 there. You saw that car wiggle.
This is about halfway through the run comparatively of what we saw last time. So drivers experiencing pretty much the same thing all over again. The temperatures have not gone down like I thought they would here at the Sunset. And that is not helping our drivers. Payne boxed in on the high side, stuck to the wall with Harvey not giving him an opening. But now that they duck down low, could he try and get through here? Well, doesn't have the speed. And the 67 will remain ahead of him, at least temporarily. The 93 using the momentum to come back around the outside and see if he can make the pass. But no, it is not there yet.
No, not there yet. It looks like he's got a little bit of a better run there on that last time through the corner. Oh, good speed there for Andrew Payne. He's now going to try for a little bit of an over-under. Cuts down. That was pretty, Joe.
Decisive stuff. It's not done yet, but it really got him into position. Car looks a little bit loose and looks very loose coming off the corner. He loses all that speed he gained, and there goes the 67 by again.
Well, that's sometimes the give and take you have at places like this, these intermediate ovals where you're able to get that great overspeed, and then you have to dive it down into the corner. You've just got to check yourself up. Ooh, whoa, wow!
That's Brandon. Walter saves it and does not bring out the caution, but loses a whole bunch of speed trying to collect that thing up.
I do not know how he held on to that, Joe. That thing looked like it had a one-way ticket into the wall.
Well, based on the experiences he had in the first stint, I'd say he saved it by experience because that's not the first time we've seen him do that. Whatever setup he put on it, I'd say throw that in the garbage for next time.
Yeah, I think so, especially as everything continues to go along here as they run. There you can see the 3 and the 28 continuing to duke it out. That's Bissaw Jr. and Matthew Long.
That 7th spot, Bissaw gets to the inside of the 28. Dropping off of Bradley Holly, starts to put some air between himself and the 2 back behind him. As they come off the corner, 3 can't really get in front of him quite yet. Has to pull out of it. Getting these beautiful ruby hues as the sun finally dips below the horizon and leaves just the hint of of light just kind of bouncing around the track onto the front stretch. And this time Long has a much better shot. Doesn't pull down in front of him quite yet. He's going to have to stay up high. The 3 liking the low line, just about half a lane off that white line. The 28 all the way up to the top side, and the 28 is going to stay ahead.
Gonna stay ahead for now, but as we continue to go on this green flag run, these guys have got to be thinking a little bit more about their tire wear, making sure it doesn't get too crazy on them by dialing side by side. And as I say that, the 28 of Matthew Long, Bissaw Jr. catches it down to the inside.
Whoa, he had a one-way ticket to that inside wall and somehow kept it from banging in there. I bet he is happy that iRacing has updated this track within the last year. It used to still have the grass that was at the bottom, but they since put the pavement that has replaced it in the real world. If it wasn't for that, I think we'd see a Bissaw pancake into the safer barrier.
Yeah, indeed. That pavement alone was what was able to catch him on it. So very, very, very lucky there for Robert. Obviously, he's fallen back here well off the bat, but we jump back into the field here as another little battle shaping up in the back. That is the number 7 machine of Goodell trying to chase down Pat Harvey and Andrew Payne.
Also, we're thinking that the pit window is going to be about between 105 to 180. So we need to watch out for that, at least for the last stint, if they want to try and get one last splash of fuel and make it to the finish on this one. Or excuse me, the 105 to 180 laps that they can make, interpreted that wrong. So that means, actually, can they make it to, yeah, they can make it to the finish from their last pit stop if they dare try and take the tires that long.
I've got to think with as much slipping and sliding that we've been seeing out here, Joe, I would venture a guess that you may want to try to come down pit lane here. What I can very easily imagine happening is diving down, some of these mid-pack drivers diving down and that causing a chain reaction.
Yeah, I think as soon as someone comes in, everybody's going to have to respond. I can't imagine going long will be the call. There you see the 93 out there right now, Andrew Payne, sitting just outside the top 10. They're really spreading out this time. We're not seeing the little clusters like we saw before. There's a few pairs out there, but otherwise, drivers kind of running their own race.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that is because of the tires. Drivers aren't able to be as aggressive as we've seen them go. And so you have to just be a little bit careful and run your own race.
Well, having your own piece of track will certainly help in that. We're still at 30 drivers left on the circuit. Poor Abner Acosta probably didn't want that because a little bit of attrition certainly would have helped him, and a few cautions for that matter. But he's still stuck in 29th. The only driver behind him is Mark Kalin, another lap down from him. But it is Trent Dinkel who has been leading. He's now got about half a second over Josh Conker. And the driver that really hates this most is probably James O'Brien. O'Brien fighting for the season championship, but he is the one last of the top 4 in the playoffs hunt. So if Dinkel gets the win, James is bumped.
Exactly, and that's why there's a part of me that maybe thinks here that James may be the one to pull the trigger on a more aggressive style strategy here, because where he's running right now, he's got nothing to lose. If Dinkel is out in front of the race, he will lose that spot, and so he may just want to decide to dive on in, see if that can cause a chain reaction, and maybe get past some people in an undercut situation. That may be a decent way to do it.
Well, Carlos Romero is now heading in, but he's a car that's a lap down, so he can afford to do this. But this will be valuable information for everybody as he crosses the entry cones and heads for his pit stall. Let's hope that he hits it right. The 501's still out there. Nope, the 4 did not hit it right. In fact, he massively overshot it and had to back it up. So that'll lose him time regardless. But Everybody is going to have their crew chief being watching to see what the times are like once he gets back out on track.
Yeah, indeed. That's going to be the big tell here for him, is if those times are significant for Romero, that's going to make a lot of these drivers think, and they're going to want to come back down. 54 to go here. If you're able to come down and do it, that should be relatively smooth sailing on the tires. We've seen them go about 45 laps here on this last stint, and everybody's been able to keep it together. So you know you can keep it together for the next round.
I think they're going to be catching some of the lap traffic as well, because Mike Witt is the last one on the lead lap. Oh, but Mike Witt is pitting in, actually, so there goes that. Yeah, I think the drivers who basically are at the back of the field tend to be coming in. Witt still dealing with his damage. You can see that is extensive on the right-hand side of that machine. Hits his marks.
Yeah, hits his marks, and we focus back here on the leader there, and jumping back to a little bit of a good battle here. This is Skip Gandy. We've talked a lot about how Skip's having a great day out here. 9th place right now, but Danny Cervantes, the Whataback Racing Orange driver, closing up on his tail.
Here's the thing, though. We mentioned he was 2.5 seconds behind Besaw. He's now 1.7 seconds behind, so he is gaining and running faster than the number 3. So he might yet have another spot in the cards. Depends on how hard Danny decides to race him. And also, I guess, when they all decide to pit.
And if they decide to pit, that is the other part of that equation there, Joe, to just see how that will all shake out there. Coming off of the corner, I've got to say, it looks like Cervantes has got a little bit more car control on that. He was able to get a narrower line off the corner, a little bit of an easier bite in, even with the aero wash. Gandy's rear tire's not looking great. That car's trying to step out on him as they go through 3 and 4.
Well, and now he can't wash up because Cervantes is there. He's taken the upper line away from him. And this pass around the outside might be the way to go. Yeah, look at the 25 flying.
Indeed, there he goes. And we've had our highest driver come into pit lane. Robert Besaw Jr. has opted to come down the lane, Joe.
And this doesn't surprise me because we just hit 51 to go. They're on lap 48 of their stint here. So this cuts it essentially halfway as Skip Gandy also pitting in. So if you want the theoretical quickest way, pitting it exactly in half should do it.
It should indeed. We'll just have... Whoa!
Was that Holly? Just trying to figure out who that was that ducked down into the lane. No, that was not Holly. Someone similarly painted. That's the 57, actually.
Yeah, that's Adam Semke. Yeah, that was just a late-minute call. Hoy, oy, oy. Apologies for everybody's ears on that one. That one just scared me a little bit.
Skip Gandy back out and rolling. But again, they're losing a lap because of this. We're hearing there might be something happening out on track. And the 4 is down off the pace. What's going on here? That's Carlos Romero. Trying to see. He's been in pit lane recently.
I just saw it, Joe. Yep, there it is. That was an unintentional dive down pit lane with Zemke. Romero tried to carry some speed around the outside there. Almost got into the back, hit Zemke, and then Zemke just said, well, okay, I'll come down pit lane then.
But no caution, unfortunately. That is not helping those who are trying to get their laps back. Dinkle, Conker, O'Brien still rolling up at the top. Oh, Daniel Simmons caught them. When did this happen? The 46 is reeled in the top, well, not the top 3, I guess at least 2nd and 3rd place here. They're on your screen.
I just had the same thought as I was cycling through the field, Joe. It just looks like some mega laps put in for Daniel Simmons to be able to catch up to the back here of James O'Brien. Now tucking up behind in the draft. Good run off of 2. I don't think he's going to be close enough to really go for it, but he is there.
When are the leaders going to respond? Because this could get interesting. If we look at the laps between Besaw Jr., who is our highest, who have taken the fresh tires and is back out and rolling, versus the top runners. I think we're going to see a drastic difference from what I can see on my timing screen. Looked like Stout is in the meantime. Trent Dinkle just announced he's pitting in. And James O'Brien saying that Conker is pitting in. I guess apparently Conker's mic is not working. There goes our leader. So the last lap for him, a 34.8. In fact, pretty similar the last few laps. Besaw Jr., 33.1, 33.5, 33.4. Yeah, he was gaining time hand over fist.
Yeah, indeed he was. And so I think this is a good decision for the leaders to come in. I don't like this for James O'Brien or Daniel Simmons or Octavio Rondoletto. They really and truly may be in a little bit of hurt here unless they come in now.
Cervantes just announced he is pitting in. Where is... now I lost... There's the 3. I found him on my timing screen. And he is up to 17th now. Dinkle's coming out, but I think Besaw's going to be ahead of him, but he's got to keep the pace up to try and stay ahead of him from here because Dinkle's going to have somewhat fresher tires, but the gap there looks to be at least a second or two.
It does indeed, and he also just got out ahead of James O'Brien, who I think I heard call that he's coming out down the pits. So there it is. Besaw, what we assume to be your expected leader here, getting out ahead of Trent Dinkle. He's got to hold on to it.
7 to 8 laps difference between the tires. So James is going to get swamped. He'll get absolutely beat because of the fresh rubber that's been on Besaw up to this point. But are those 7 laps enough that he'll have a little bit more pace over him to run him back down over the next 40-some laps?
Well, that's the real question here. And for Besaw, we really haven't seen him be able to run out in the lead and in clean air at this point. Also, Josh Conker holding on to the backup Trent Dinkle the best that he can. So that is another potential spoiler here to come into play. Interesting there to watch it. That's Dinkle running the low line, and that is Besaw running middle.
And the gap between O'Brien and the others, goodness, this is looking like a good 5, 6, maybe even 7 seconds. Trying to let it settle in to see if I can figure this out. But it is monstrous between the pair of them. And Dinkle just got by Besaw. So Dinkle now is our highest driver to have pitted. So that is the effective lead. And he is on the lead lap. So if we get a caution, he's sitting pretty.
Yes, he is, and you can see behind there the 54 trying to work a little bit on Besaw right now. That's Josh Conker. Remember, he was up in that fight as well, trying to keep him in it. It's cost him a little bit of time because Robert doesn't want to give up the ghost quite yet, but he's definitely going for it. Late move into the corner there. He's got it.
I tell you what, though, I got to give props to Besaw Jr. because he knew that he kind of had to take a risk to try and win this race, and that's what he did pitting early. It just didn't quite pan out. He had to beat Dinkle to the victory to get himself in. And it's not looking likely because Dinkle's just been unbelievably fast today. But I think the most likely to deny him is going to be Conker.
Yeah, I feel like that's right. I feel like Josh is just sitting back there, and you can see all over the back of the 501. He's been holding back a little bit this race, I think, Joe.
Bad news for fans of James O'Brien as well. He has not been able to match the laps, or at least do better laps than Trent Dinkle since his pit stop. So he's not gaining the time to try and get back and fight with him as they come off of turn 4. And the 54 is indeed eager to try and take this victory. They're going to go 3 wide potentially as Goodell tries to stay out of the way. He's going to get overtaken for position. Whoa. He is very loose. He almost got into the wall.
Yeah, it was. That's what that whoa was. So here they come. Now, Conker had that line and has the advantage as they come over the backstretch, but it looks like Trent Dinkle carried a little bit more overspeed. Now they're coming up behind Patrick Cowgill. Cowgill sticking low. This could be a little bit of a thorn in the side. They're all able to get through, but just barely.
So are some of these drivers attempting to get to the end here? If they are, it's really not working. Cowgill just got overtaken, and he's mighty slow. He's on lap 61 on his stint. And I see Hutchison, Payne, Knopf, and Tracy are still out there as well. I think, yeah, looks like Tracy's going to get overtaken right here. He's staying down low, and he is pitting in as well.
Yeah, just trying to see, I think, for them, if they were able to maybe get that on, get a late yellow there to be able to help them out. But Conker holding off Trent Dinkle here. This is good for him. This is what he needs to do. Just try to build up a little bit more of a gap, if at all possible. Also, it sounds like Andrew Payne's going to be coming on in.
Which will leave Troy Hutchison all on his lonesome, who appropriately is leading in the #1 car. He's still got a little bit before Josh Conker catches up to him, but it's definitely plenty of laps for the 54 to try and run him down and overtake him, especially considering the state that those tires are going to be in once he hits the checkered flag. Trent Dinkle been overtaken. Has to try and fight back to take this one. If you're just joining us, this has implications for the 2021 playoffs, because Dinkle needs this win to get through. Otherwise, he'll lose it to O'Brien, who is behind him by about 3 positions currently.
Yeah, indeed. And so they have just got to try to hold this out the best that they can. But Conker doing a good job. Dinkle as well, just applying maximum pressure here, not really going for broke. He doesn't want to use up his tires here too much and too early. Just wants to keep up behind that number 54 and see if he can force a mistake, I think.
What happened to some of our other drivers in the Season 4 championship? Bradley Hawley's all the way down in 11th for some reason. Been a bit anonymous today, unfortunately. Acosta, we know what happened to him. Rondoletto looks like he is in 10th place. This is just a very kind of gray and middle-of-the-road day for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, and I think the only one that I can speak to with some clarity there is Holly, who I took a later stop, Joe, and that's why I think he got a little caught out on that. But this is getting spicy there. That's Conker drifting up the track a little bit. Dinkle, I think, smells some blood in the water. Conker going to dive down low to try to protect that inside. Now come back up to the racing line.
Cars are starting to look loose again. They're already about 12 laps into the stint, and they got to think that they're pushing as hard as they can, knowing that this is for the win, and they've got to just leave it all hanging out. And they've got one more set for them if they need it. If they get a caution, they can duck in, but otherwise nobody should be coming to the pits unless we get that yellow. We also have 1 green-white checkers on the cards if we get a late caution. Coming up to Charles Sumner now. This is a lapped car, not for position. Hutchison is about 1 second up the road, 2 seconds up the road, it seems. And once again, looking to the bottom side. Dinkle gets some overlap this time. He's actually going to be able to get alongside the 54. Tries to send it in as deep as it'll go, but he can't drift up. The 54 is there. There goes Hutchison, finally giving way. It is now officially the race for the lead.
And Hutchison able to be fully clear by the time they dive down now into turns 1 and 2. That was a good move from Dinkle. He smelled the opportunity and went for it, but it just didn't play out for him perfectly. But he's still got 30 or so laps left to go to try to get this set.
Riding on board with the 501, looking ahead. This has got to be nerve-wracking for him. Underneath Sumner once more, down to 31 laps to go. The gap behind them to Besaw is extended to about 5.5 seconds, so really not much to do there. In fact, I think O'Brien has been reeling in that 3rd place car and might put him out of the podium positions. In fact, what does O'Brien's laps look like now compared to those top two, with him having an alternate strategy? 33.6 for the last couple laps for O'Brien. Conker 33.7, 33.6. So, yeah, unfortunately for O'Brien, even if he's a little bit faster here and there, it's just not enough with the 6.2 seconds that he has got to make up. There you can see on your screen.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. But back up front, Josh Conker able to buy himself a little bit of breathing room courtesy of some lap traffic. Dinkel still trying to chase him down, but we haven't seen a dive from him in a couple of laps, so he'll be able to breathe a little bit easier. But now they've got some clean track ahead of them, and that's going to reverse.
Indeed. As the two up high, well, is he going to get out of the way? No, he's not for Dinkel. He's going to deny him the quicker racing line. This is Knopf, who doesn't really have anything to worry about here. He's got Charles Sumner behind him that he's trying to stay away from. And he does have fresher tires than these two. But he's going to be able to get past the 501. He's going to unlap himself. And now Dinkel's best hope is that he holds up Josh Conker a little bit as well. And I don't think he's going to.
Forced Conker onto a little bit of an alternate line there and allowed for Dinkel to catch back up a little bit. That may not be coming out this lap, but that's certainly going to help him just a little bit as they continue to go along.
Yeah, he did. He caught up way better than I thought he would into that corner. Dinkel's still in it. He just keeps right in those tire tracks of the 54. Trent having taken a win so far this season. I need to check and see if Conker has managed to get one. And no, he has not. He's got one top 5 and 2 top 10s so far. He's not shown up for about 4 of the races, so he's just been a part-time competitor here in the Cup Series this season. But can he get himself another little stat on his sheet and get a win and deny his rivals a little bit of a fairy tale finish to the penultimate round here in 2024, or 2021 rather. Getting ahead of myself.
Indeed, but it is certainly coming on strong here. Dinkel just applying all of that pressure the best that he can. As Robert Bissaw, by the way, has fallen down now to 5th. Matthew Long also able to get by him.
And I think Bradley Holly just got by Skip Gandy as well. So Holly is still streaking his way upwards. He's up into 8th spot. He is not bringing along Danny Cervantes like he thought he would. And Rondoletto has been also pushing forward ahead of Holly. Rondoletto up to 6th, and I think gaining on Bissaw Jr. So still a top 5 on the cards for Octavio, our points leader.
Indeed, and so it looks like he'll be able to, I think, claw in on Robert Bissaw by the end of the run. So yeah, top 5 for him. He may even be able to get up to Matthew Long, but that is still a little bit TBD as it goes around. There you see Rondoletto working that high line there on Bissaw Jr. He is going to try to power it through. Long is 2 cars ahead of them in that white Mustang. That is the lapped car of Patrick Cowgill in between them.
Yeah, and that was a lift from Robert. He knew what was happening. He's just trying to get to the finish from here. So Octavio now up into 5th with 14 lap fresher tires than the car he just passed. And he's got 8 lap fresher tires than Long. And, well, it won't take long because look at how quickly he's gathered up the 28 and is already looking on the high side. He's going to cut back underneath them. And there's the pass.
Indeed, able to get down and around him. So move Octavio Rondoletto up into 4th place position. Good runs for him indeed. That'll keep his hopes alive here in the later stages of this Season 4 championship.
Now, we might want to pay closer attention to Rondoletto here. His lap times have been 33.6, 33.8, 34 flat. Conker, 34.3, 34.3, 34.3. He's catching up to our overall leaders. Rondoletto might actually be on for the win if he can keep up this pace. Oh,
we've got ourselves a nice little story here, Joe. You are right. Those times are coming on very, very quick, but he's still got some lapped cars to get around before he gets there, but this is not done anywhere near yet.
That's Patrick Cowgill on, actually, I think similarly lapped tires to Rondeletto. They're only 3 laps fresher, and he's kind of making a bit of a headache for the 48 right now. Doesn't need to race him, but he's trying to run his own one. He's trying to catch up to Goodell in front of him. Almost think they need to work together a little bit, because they could probably go that tiny bit faster, trying to help one another out around this track with only 20 laps to go and a lot on the line for the likes of Rondeletto.
Yeah, indeed, but it just doesn't look like Patrick wants to help him, and that's kind of blunting that forward momentum for Octavio. Maybe a little bit red underneath that green racing machine, but he's right now just tucked up behind Cowgill trying to make it work.
So, as they come off of turn 4 once again, this time by Rondeletto, about 1.5 seconds off of O'Brien. He can definitely see James up the road, so the podium is doable as he's just overtaken Simmons as well. Oh, excuse me, Simmons just got by Long, rather. So Daniel Simmons making great inroads there in the 46 with himself into the top 5 after starting 9th. But Rondeletto, last lap 34.2, O'Brien 34.5, half a second faster.
He's certainly got the speed, that is for sure. It's just a matter of if he can fly his way through this lap traffic to get up to him in time. James O'Brien here probably desperate to get by the number 7 there of Brian Goodell to just put another lap traffic between, another piece of lap traffic in between himself and Octavio Rondeletto.
A few more drivers helping Abner Acosta run forward to get something out of this. He's now up to 26. We've lost CM Pennington, who has lost his internet connection, and Adam Zemke has blown his engine. He is also done for the day.
Oh, that's
Zemke.
That's Zemke, okay.
Yeah, he's just trying to cruise it into the pits. He doesn't want to cause a yellow, so he's keeping himself well out of the way of the other drivers.
That was Josh Conker. Very, very sideways coming off of 4, and that's going to allow for Dinkle to try to go back around the outside.
He's almost got it, but he's not quite there yet. Josh Conker is not going to give up that easily. Fights him for it through 1 and 2, and this is going to help out Rondeletto a ton, because this will slow up both of them as they start to squabble amongst one another. We look off the back bumper of the 501 at the 54. On the bottom side, tries to pinch him down, knowing now is when he's got to strike. And once again, a loose moment for Josh Conker. Has he used up his stuff? Is he overheating the tires?
He very well may have, Joe. That rear end of the car coming up before looking very, very squirrely. Could be a little bit of that crosswind that we talked about earlier on having an effect on the cars, but there he goes again.
So back to the front for Dinkle, and another plot twist. Octavio Rondeletto just did the same, trying to lap cars, getting very loose. Everybody is starting to lose control here as the rubber goes out from underneath them, but Dinkle gets a gap of about half a second over Josh Conker just when it seemed like the 54 had this all under control. He is now desperately losing time.
He is indeed, and he is looking like he may get Troy Hutchinson there to unlap himself behind him. That car, even there, Joe, where it wasn't fully sideways, just on rails coming off of the corners.
So the 1 now is going to interrupt the pair of them. Up to 0.8 of a second between Conker and Dinkle. Going to be 13 to go at the line. Octavio Rondeletto has cut it down to about 5.7 seconds himself, but he's been dealing with all sorts of traffic around him. That's Goodell, along with Cowgill, still making life all kinds of frustrating. But he is to the back of James O'Brien now. The red, white, and black number 9 is just about 6 or 7 car lengths in front
He is, but that's Michael Witt to his outside that he has got to clear to be able to run some good lines before he can start thinking about getting up to him. There he dives it in through the corner. I think Octavio is now going to be able to let that momentum carry him up. Indeed, he is nice and clear, and so now he can focus on a charge towards the podium.
Well, I don't want to complicate this too much, but based on what we're seeing from so many cars, because it's not just the leaders that are sliding, I'm seeing others having to really catch it. We are in a prime spot for a potential caution, which will completely change the complexion of things.
Completely and totally, Joe. This is absolutely bonkers as these tires have gone off. This is about as long as we've seen a lot of them run, and the cool air here not coming in as much as we'd hoped. It's still 86 degrees on track, and these drivers struggling with rear tire wear.
I mean, just look at them slide off the corner from 4. You can see so many of them trying to chase it up the track. The 48 still trying to catch O'Brien. I thought it would be faster than this, but I think he used up the best of them trying to gun him down. And off the corner, man, I could almost visibly see him lose time from the booth here as the 9 had a better shot off the turn.
Yeah, indeed. It's a little bit of a seesaw as they're going to cross over here. Leaders taking it down 11 laps to go, down to 10. It's now or never time for these guys. They know it, but they can't push too hard, because if they do, they may be the ones bringing out the yellow.
Interestingly, I think O'Brien has even caught up to Conker somewhat because of his problems. It's down to about 4 seconds. And he is only on 2-lap old or younger tires, rather, O'Brien, compared to Conker, so it's not a drastic difference. Must be down to either setup or the way that they've been driving them. But for now, the 9's probably more focused on the mirror, trying to make sure to keep Rondeletto behind. James O'Brien, even if he can't go through into the final 4 for the playoffs, he's working hard on this Season 4 championship, where he sits 4th and only 15 points behind Rondeletto. So finishing ahead of him would be ever so critical to giving himself a shot as we go to Chicagoland.
Well, and he may have a little bit more help in that regard. That's Daniel Simmons. That is 5th place, right up behind Octavio. He has been putting in some stonkers of laps, and now he's going to start to challenge the 48.
And Simmons actually got 1 lap older tires compared to Rondeletto, which is incredible. The 46 just that much more stable on the long run. He's going to get the bottom side. The 48 doesn't fight it, and that is great news for O'Brien.
It is indeed, and there, as you see Simmons diving that car down into the corner, able to slide it up in front of Octavio, and that is spot taken for Daniel Simmons, so he will be in 4th.
Conker had another big moment. We need an onboard replay for the 54. And the gaps show it on your tower. It's up to 1 second now. Out of turn 4, the car was once again just dirt tracking it all the way out. And that's put O'Brien within about 3.5 seconds as well. But this might be too little too late for James to look at a second place.
Yeah, I don't think James is quite going to be able to close in unless there is a massive problem here for Josh Conker as they get going around. That is the 4 going very slowly down as he comes through. Not sure what's going on with him.
That is Romero. He was staying out of the way of the leaders. He's letting cars lap him, I think. So he's trying to make sure that he is not a problem for those who are battling for position. Conker 1.5 seconds behind Dinkel. This drive has been a masterclass for Trent. Whoa! And there is exactly what I was trying to get a replay of. Just basically carbon copied over to this lap with 5 to go now. Josh Conker may yet lose that second place to James O'Brien.
He might indeed. That car is just slipping and sliding all over the place. It does not look happy at all. And with only 5 laps to go, he is going to be holding on for dear life at this point.
I get the feeling that Conker versus Dinkel's tires is going to be like that scene from Days of Thunder where it's his way, my way, and Dinkel is going to be the good pair as he gets 4 to go now. 3 seconds ahead of anybody else around him and just cruising.
Yeah, just absolutely out there. He looks like he's actually backing off ever so slightly to just kind of not overrun those tires at all. But they continue to get going here. They'll cross the line here with 3 laps to go. And so it is definitely push time here for any of these drivers, 2nd through 5th.
Daniel Simmons might be able to overtake O'Brien now. How hard does the 9 try and fight this? As they come down into turn 1, he took a little bit of a peek to the inside. The 9 chops him off into the corner. He's got to fight for just a few laps, but does he have anything to fight with?
That's the real question. Good run there for Simmons, but he backs off of it before they go into 3 and 4 here. Looking like he may have some momentum on the high side. It looked like James tried to move up the track on him a little bit, but didn't work enough to make it go. There's about a car length difference in between them as they cross the line for 2 to go.
Dinkle is all on his lonesome. Simmons riding high. That's Sumner trying to stay out of the way. Still can't seem to get by James O'Brien. He caught up to him. Now the car starts to stall out, and he's going to have only 1 more lap to make it a podium here today because Trent Dinkle is to the line and getting that white flag from Barney.
Indeed, in Dinkle's gap, about 4 seconds, so he's good. Meanwhile, Simmons looking very good. There's O'Brien going defensive down into turn 1, trying to hold it out. Almost contact there between the two. That checks up Simmons.
Whew, ultra defensive. These points are important to him. He's not going to be able to make it into the Final 4, but he needs that Season 4 championship. He wants to try and see if he can at least put that on his resume. But Trent Dinkle is going to be able to break through with an unbelievable victory, and he pumps his fist in celebration as he wins here today at Homestead.
A great drive for Trent. He was always in the action. Conker able to hold on to that car for second, and James O'Brien did hold off Daniel Simmons to round out that podium.
Rondeletto, oh my goodness, Rondeletto came to the line sideways. We need a replay of the 48. He almost lost a position because his tires were done and had to spin it across to try and complete this race. So we take a look at that one. He'll still get a top 5. So this is the 48 car here off of turn 4. Watch this. Really has to catch it. Just trying to, I bet he didn't lift that whole way. I think his foot was on the throttle the whole time.
Oh, no, for sure. When you're coming to the line like that, you just keep it in it. Oh, and a nice little hit there at the end from Bradley Holly, just for good measure.
Yeah, I think that was for fun there from Holly. And yeah, you can see it start to go. Catch it, catch it. Nope, don't need to. We're done. Didn't lift. Wow, what a finish. A single caution all race here at Homestead produced a fascinating battle on the pit stops and the tires. But that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. We just watched round 9 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, and Trent Dinkle, we said that he needed the victory to get himself into the Final 4, and that's exactly what he did. That will put him into the hunt for the playoffs as we go to Chicagoland. Josh Conker finished second, the car getting a little too slidey to take the win. He just about did it. And James O'Brien started on the pole, had to settle for a third place, barely holding back Daniel Simmons for that podium position, but helps him out heading off into the finale for the Season 4 championship. Ron Doletto was P5 behind them all. Just had all that speed, but couldn't really keep up the pace when we got to those last 15 laps. Matthew Long was 6th as Bradley Hawley. A little bit of a late pit stop was not the call. He finished 7th. Robert Besaw Jr. was P8, and Skip Gandy still finished in 9th. I think that is impressive regardless from that 21st starting position. Danny Cervantes winding up 10th.
Coming home in 11th, it was Andrew Payne, followed by Pat Harvey, with Barron Hilton and Troy Hutchinson behind them. Jimmy Knopp was 15th, followed by Scotty Johnson and Taylor Stout, 17th, the last driver on the lead lap. Brandon Walter and Charles Sumner were both a lap down at 18th and 19th, and Ryan Goodell rounds out your top 20, also a lap down.
21st was Patrick Cowgill. It was Jose Medina in at 22nd, then Ken Olland in the 23rd spot. From there, you get to 2 lap down cars. Michael Witt, Robert Tracy, 3 laps down. Poor Abner Acosta, 4 laps down at the end of the day because of partly because of some internet problems. He finished just 26th. Mark Kalin 27th, and Carlos Romero in 28th. After that, it's all DNFs all the way to 31st, where we had Joao Guerra, as it did not start, in 32nd place. Looks like we've got our third place finisher ready to talk to us. It is James O'Brien, who started from the pole and waited just that little bit longer compared to his rivals. And for some, that worked out. But for James, it didn't seem like that was enough for the win. Were you surprised at the way the tire strategy worked out today, James?
Not really. It was something that I kind of knew going in. Undercut's huge here, but I just wanted to make sure. Well, actually, I kind of got caught under a blanket on the last pit stop there. I had too many cars around me, and I didn't want to do a risky pit entry. So that's kind of what delayed me a lap. I don't know if it would really helped at the end because Daniel Simmons and Octavio pit even later than me, and they were catching me so quick. So I'm kind of glad I pit where I did.
Yeah, that seemed to work out, at least on that end. But I don't know how aware you were of the situation for the playoffs. From what we can tell, you have been bumped out since Trent Dinkle took the victory. Were you aware of that during the race? And was that at all in your mind in how you were driving this race?
Honestly, I think Abner got bumped out. We were doing the points while we were racing, and I was 1 point behind Brad going in, got the pole, that's 2, and then I beat him by some unknown amount. So there's my buffer from him. And then Abner was over 18 spots behind Brad. So I believe he is the one that got bumped out, surprisingly.
I think we didn't even catch that. We were so caught up in you being the one at the bottom there.
I know. Yeah. No, it was evolving quick during the race. And trust me, I was talking to Ty, who is the owner of our team, and trying to get us abreast on the situation. Abner is really not happy. His internet was kind of just it was a disaster. And that cost him 2 laps because it didn't count the laps when he went by. So it just essentially just put him 2 laps down from the get-go.
We did see that part, and we were very sad for him watching that unfold. But regardless, a podium, and you're going to get yourself into the hunt once again for the Season 4 championship. How do you feel heading off to Chicagoland?
Great. It's my best track on the whole service. I don't know about now because things have changed, but I've been excellent there. I'm somebody that I take pride in that track. I love it a lot. It's kind of sad that it's going away. So I'm going to try to build something pretty special. Kind of wish if this is the way we think it is, I kind of wish Abner was there because I know he really deserves it too, the amount of races he's won. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Sounds like you're very confident. Congratulations with the third place. Anybody you want to thank?
Team Hype, private label, Ethica, Tomahawk Shades. You guys are putting this on. Tommy, who had a hell of a race yesterday at Petit Le Mans and didn't kind of go his way. Richard for helping during the week with sets. He's going to try to come back in this week. Josh for being a great teammate. His mic isn't working, so I don't know if he's going to be able to come in, maybe on his phone, but we'll see. And yeah, everybody watching, hopefully it was a good race.
That was our third place finisher, James O'Brien, as DJ has caught up with our winner, Trent Dinkle, who I'm sure is ecstatic right now.
Yeah, Trent, you've got to be happy on a couple of levels. A win here, number one, and number two, locking your way into the final four. Talk to me about what you're feeling, man.
Oh, I am like beyond words right now. This was, I honestly didn't think I was going to have it because I knew these guys were so good at these intermediate tracks. And, I was stuck behind Josh and James, and I was kind of riding back there, and then some spots opened up to get around James, and I got around him, and then got around Josh, and then I messed up in that first caution pit stop and blew my box a little bit, and then just kind of had to start working, and then had a little lap traffic that let Josh back around me, and I was just kind of following him and stayed right there, and he started to pull away, and I was like, oh, dang, I don't think I'm going to get him. And then all of a sudden he was, halfway around coming out of 4, and I just kind of drove around him.
Well, talk to me about that pit stop, because obviously you were kind of a pick there early on, and then the pit stop bobbled you. What were you doing when you came back out? Obviously under caution, how much of a mental reset did you kind of have to do, and what were you thinking once you got going from there?
Well, I mean, obviously it didn't take too long to get around both of them. I was more worried about Daniel Simmons, honestly, because I did a few official races that he was in, and that dude had so much late run speed. I just wanted to break away from him and get away and, hopefully get a big enough lead where he couldn't catch me. So on that restart, I just, went up high and just ripped the top line as hard as the car would take it. And it took it, and we came out ahead of him, and then I just had to start working again.
Well, my friend, I got to ask you, next week out, it's the final race of the year. It's Championship 4 at Chicagolands. Not to put pressure on you, but how do you think it's going to go?
I have no idea, honestly. I haven't ever really raced anything at Chicagoland, so it'll be kind of a little bit of a learning curve. Plus, this week we won't really have any of the, like Rocket won't have their setup out until, hopefully Sunday. So if nothing else, I'll get some laps in Sunday. If not, I might be kind of going in there a little blind. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, I can guarantee you we will be watching with bated breath, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for this win and this advancement here today?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I got, Rocket Racing setups. They help a ton. All of my teammates help all week long, every week. Michael and Rob and Waldo, they always get the setups done, get them flying around the track. And then I do know practically my entire family is watching me right now in Kansas with my grandpa. So it was pretty cool to win in front of them all. I'd like to thank them all for watching.
Well, I love it, Trent, and congratulations once again, man.
Thank you.
That was Trent Dinkle, your victor here today. Joe?
Love when it means so much to the drivers and seeing the smiles on their faces. But we're going to close this out as we thank a few of our sponsors as well. That includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Also, SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link down in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race, as we mentioned, is at Chicagoland, of all places. That'll be Sunday, November 21st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.